It's all about this amazing place, a home that we all can share. Listen to the music, see the sights to see. We get a very scenic university. VSU in my heart, VSU in my heart. Listen to the music, sing with us a song. VSU in my heart.
There is so much this school has given me, the sunsets and truths beside commodity. Oh, how can I repay?
Listen to the music, sing it cheer to cheer at the Versailles State University. VSU in my heart, VSU in my heart. Listen to the music, sing with us a song. VSU in my heart.
Well, it's here at the Visayas State University.
VSU in my heart, VSU in my heart. Listen to the music, sing us a song. VSU in my heart, VSU in my heart,
VSU in my heart.
A minute of prayer at 3 o'clock in the afternoon for the forgiveness of sins, for peace in our country and the world, and the conservation of our forests. 3 o'clock in the afternoon is the hour of great mercy. At this time, our Lord Jesus Christ died on the cross and redeemed the world.
You died, Jesus, but the source of life flowed out for souls, and the ocean of mercy opened up for the whole world. O fountain of life, immeasurable divine mercy, cover the whole world and empty yourself out upon us. O blood and water, which flowed out from the heart of Jesus as a fountain of mercy for us, I trust in you. Holy God, Holy Mighty One, Holy Immortal One, have mercy on us and the whole world. Holy God, Holy Mighty One, Holy Immortal One, have mercy on us and the whole world. Holy God, Holy Mighty One, Holy Immortal One, have mercy on us and the whole world. Amen. Jesus, King of mercy, we trust in you.
Wow, Ben! Ninduta gud anang imong gidrawing. Nature man na, oy! May pakapin balak ta gud ay. Para asa di ay na?
Practice pa ko ani Jen. Isamit unya ni nako sa amo ang eskwelahan sa kahanginan or School on the Air.
Ha? Asa man na dapita? Aw! Sa DYDC-FM? Katong kabahin sa School on the Air o SOA on Visual Arts para sa mga junior ug senior high school teachers ug students sa MAPE ug Special Program in the Arts sa DepEd?
Correct lagi ka Jen.
Ako pa! Tigpaminawan baya og avid fan ko sa DYDC-FM 104.7 para malang di ay na sa taga-Baybay City ug Southern Leyte Schools Divisions. Pero pwede gihapon ng uban makapaminaw sa DYDC kung ganahan sila. Libre ra.
Lagi, swerte gud ko nga naka-appeal ko ani. Taga East West Center o EWC sa Honolulu, Hawaii, USA ang sponsor sa SOA on Visual Arts for Mental Health and Environment.
Mao ba? Gikan sa Amerika. Nahala, pag ayo-ayo migo. Tudloi unya ko sa imuha makatunan sa SOA ha. Bye!
The Visayas State University, through the Department of Development Communication and DYDC-FM 104.7, in partnership with the East-West Center, EWC, and Honolulu, Hawaii, USA, and the two schools divisions of the Department of Education, DepEd, Baybay City Schools Division in Leyte and Southern Leyte Schools Division, proudly presents
The School on the Air, or SOA, on Visual Arts for Mental Health and Environment. A radio school program that will educate visual arts among teachers and students who are into music, arts, physical education, and health. MAPE and Special Program in the Arts, SPA of the DepEd as our SOA participants.
This is to improve their quality of education, create awareness, and promote mental health and well-being,
as well as environmental protection among our SOA participants.
SOA on Visual Arts for Mental Health and Environment.
Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Philippine Standard Time.
And now, please welcome the two radio hosts of this SOA program.
Good afternoon, SOA participants, and welcome to another learning session of the School on the Air on Visual Arts for Mental Health and the Environment. I'm Perlene Fernandez.
And I'm Juan Andrade. Hello, Visayas State University, VSU, and to the SOA project team, the Department of Education, DepEd Baybay City and Southern Leyte Schools Divisions, MAPI, SPA teachers, and students who are our SOA participants, and to everyone tuning in over DYDC FM 104.7 to this special radio school program today. Actually, guys, this is our last learning session for the School on the Air, as we will be merging the two learning sessions into one day, which is today. So this way we can give more time to our participants to accomplish their exercises and answer their quizzes, as well as the pre-test and post-test if you have not accomplished them yet. So that's it, no?
Yes, so that's right, Juan. So we are already in the home stretch. All right, so before anything else, let's first have our customary roll call.
All right. So, makamingaw ra ba ni?
Makamingaw dyan ang atong roll call ay. Let's start with our participants from Baybay City Schools Division. All right, so dating gawe, kindly unmute your mic and open your cameras. And of course, you'll say aloha together. Right, so ready, get set, go!
Alright.
Okay.
Naiiro nga
May ero. Naapilisan siguro sa atong klase.
Aloha sa lang iro, no?
Okay, thank you. No, thank you sa atong participants from Baybay City Schools Division. Virtual clap for you guys. And now, how about our participants from the Southern Leyte Schools Division? All right, so ready, get set, go! Aloha! Oy, napay pinataas na kamot sa Southern Leyte. Thank you so much. Virtual clap for you guys. Okay, great job, SOA participants.
Alright, so natay greet po nag-aloha po sa atong chat box, sa atong FB Live, no? Si Donna Grace Magonsha, aloha, watching from Southern Leyte, Itchon National High School. From Mary Manaog, watching from Santa Cruz National High School, Southern Leyte Division. From Siliciere Ligid Platon, watching here from Hinunangan National High School. From Jesus Aruta, watching from Southern Leyte, Itchon National High School. And from RJ Flores, aloha.
Aloha, guys, no? All right, so before we proceed, we would like to remind those who have not yet answered the assessments or submitted their exercises to accomplish them as soon as possible. So we need to stress out the importance of accomplishing the exercises and answering the quizzes for you to graduate in this SOA.
That's right. And maybe later, after we or after the lesson that we'll be playing today, we will hear an announcement from our project leader, si Dr. Gabrilio. on more announcements for our graduation, of course, sa ato pang announcement to sa atong School on the Air. So
Alright.
last week, we learned all about the dry media techniques, specifically using oil pastel. No? So we learned how to make artworks using oil pastel, and we learned how to draw a flower and the landscape using oil pastel. No? I hope na naka-remember pagyapon sila sa mga drawing techniques sa oil pastel.
Yeah, so I think these are heavy pressure blending, light pressure blending, color mixing, stippling, and thin marks, scumbling, graffito, and of course, oil and turpentine.
All right. And I hope you remember them, guys, and of course apply them in your artworks, and also in the future, no, inyo pud magamit ang mao nga mga techniques if you're using oil pastel.
All right, so for this week's module, we will be learning all about wet media, specifically poster paint.
So last week, no, dry, karon wet na. All right. So basic wet media techniques are best learned first through the use of watercolor paints. Watercolors come in two types, no, the transparent and the opaque watercolors. Poster color is an opaque watercolor because it is composed of a binder that makes it possible to color and conceal colors beneath a layer of color. Transparent watercolors are thinner in consistency and do not have a binder, and colors beneath layers can show through.
And for beginners in watercolor painting, the most important skill to develop is how to properly mix colors.
Mixing, no?
With the correct consistency of the solvent, which is water, as in the case of poster color.
Right.
And the amount of water that is mixed will determine the consistency of the color and how quickly it can cover areas and the color intensity that it may show. So too thin application will result to less saturation, and overly thick naman,
Baga, no?
baga nga pag-apply will result to cracking or delay in drying time. Mixing poster paint is very tricky without practice and sometimes may lead to frustrations. Agi na ba ka ni Buwan?
Yes, sa akong pagsugod-sugod, pero as I go through, no, practice, so mas kuan ako, confident na ko.
Confident na na-achieve
Alright.
na.
Yeah.
Right, so student grade poster paints are not as brilliant as the professional grades. However, they are not as expensive, and the aspiring painter may not worry too much if the errors are made. So poster color is a very forgiving medium that will give brilliant results in graphic design if used properly.
Okay, so at the end of the lesson, guys, no, students should have learned the following. You have identified the different poster color painting techniques of rendering river, rocks, and stones. Execute the basic techniques in rendering the shape and correct proportion of river rocks and stones with poster color paint. Acquire the basic skills in effectively using the poster color in painting, and appreciate the importance of the art of painting poster colors in documenting the natural environment.
All right, so guys, get yourselves comfortable now. Listen very well. Make sure to take down notes and enjoy the video lessons which will be played for you.
And again, no, please put your microphones on mute while the lesson is going on. And also, if you like to paint with Sir Jude, so you can also have your drawing materials or painting materials handy, no? Alright, so ato pong i-greet si Rogen Tambole. Aloha everyone watching from Mercedes National High School, Southern Leyte Division. Alright guys, so here it is. It's gonna be a long video because the two lessons of this module will be played, no? So medyo taas-taas siya. So again, enjoy.
Enjoy.
Many rivers and streams flow down the mountain slopes. Welcome to Cabalasan River of Baybay City, Leyte, Philippines. Today, I'm going to share to you a module on poster color painting techniques. And we'll be using this river as our source of inspiration. Our first lesson will be on how to paint rocks using poster color. Okay, the first step that we're going to do is look for a good grouping of rocks. So if you have already found your good grouping of rocks, start by sketching the rocks using a graphite pencil. Okay, we have chosen these rocks for their interesting shapes and textures. So one of the most important considerations when learning how to use poster color paint is to look for subjects with interesting tone, color, and texture. Okay, these rocks and stones were mostly swept by the big annual floods in this river. So you don't have to copy each and every rock and stone exactly, but you have to only choose what are those rocks and stones that are good in your composition. So some of these rocks will be presented through impressions. When you say impressions, it may just be through the representation of simple outlines and shadows. Okay, you can make a better painting when you return back to the studio. So most of the time, artists do this if they have painting projects that require them to paint rocks and they need references. So later on, I will just use my camera to get a reference of these river stones and rocks. Okay, so after sketching using your graphite pencil, the next step is start blocking in the color of your stones and rocks using a broad watercolor or synthetic brush. Okay, I'm using here a number 8 flat brush. Okay, so what you will do is you have to identify the basic colors found. So the background of these rocks is the flowing water in the Cabalasan River. So this will serve as the backdrop for this painting. So the color of the river, of the water is somewhat murky because of the algae. So what we will mix here, a mixture of yellow, a little bit of orange, a little bit of brown, and a little bit of yellow-green. So if you noticed, when I get my colors, I didn't dilute them excessively with water. So it would be wise for you to first work on the background before moving on to the foreground. So I'm trying to paint So I'm trying to paint the background color first. So if you noticed, I am now applying I'm now applying cool colors for my background. So I'm using here yellow, green, and blue. Okay, so cool colors tend to appear farther away or recede from the viewer. So I decided to include the water of the river so that we can set the mood where are the rocks found. Okay, we have here a small puddle just below the rocks and stones. So this is what we call as the blocking in stage for poster color painting. Okay, poster colors are classified as watercolors, but they are labeled as opaque watercolors. So when you say opaque watercolors, if you apply colors above a layer of an initial color layer, the lower layer tend to be covered by the upper layer. It's because the pigment particles of poster color are very big, and they're not easily diluted and absorbed by the paper fiber. So they tend to just stay above the surface. So I'm trying to combine a mixture of orange, yellow, green, and brown to come up with these earthy tones. So I'm establishing the background of our stones to better guide me later on in making the dark values of the rock. Okay, I'm now moving into to paint the dark areas of the rock, the river rock. Okay, if you noticed, I don't try to rub the paint on the paper, but rather I push the paint on the paper using the brush. Okay, so if you rub the paint on the paper, you will be creating a lot of textures, and there's also a possibility of destroying the brush. So my advice to my art students is to use the brush with a light touch. Okay, we have to understand that when rocks are shaded, their shadows tend to be dark, and also when they are wet by fluids or water, their surfaces also tend to become dark. But sometimes when we work on paintings related to nature, we sometimes use our artistic license to make the paintings look a little bit abstract and not really close to reality, because sometimes natural colors tend to be flat. Okay, just like this top of the rock, I applied more yellow to show that the upper surface is illuminated by the sunlight. So if I'll have to copy the grayish tint of the rocks, it won't look very vibrant. But what's wonderful about poster colors is that you can use white to lighten your colors. With poster colors, you have the chance to add white paint to your colors to adjust the tint. So in painting, if we say that we have to tint our colors, it means we are being required to add white to our color. So when we say tone, we are advised to add a darker shade to our color. Sometimes we get the sound of motorcycle engines in our location right now because this is where people cross to another barangay called Bidlinan. So when producing videos like this, you cannot really avoid to capture the ambient sounds of vehicles and people passing by. But this is a very lazy weekend. So I'm now trying to balance the tone and values that are shaded. Okay, part of the river is already shaded. That's why I'm applying this area with darker shadows. So by applying the shadows, we are trying to create the illusion of nearness, or this area appears closer to the viewer compared to those stones and rocks in the background. So this is what I call as impression. So you really have to practice your brush work. And I'm just using a single brush for this painting exercise. If you have limited number of brushes and you cannot use many sizes, all you have to do is just try to manipulate the way you hold the brush. So if you hold the brush lightly, it won't create broad impressions. You will be creating finer impressions if you use a lighter pressure. So I'm now trying to balance my painting. I'm adding white for the background because I would like to further lighten the flowing water. And I'm also trying to increase the darkness of the shadow of the biggest rock here in front of me. So when you paint, it's like getting in and getting out of a picture. Okay, when you say getting in, you apply your darker tones, and when you say out, you're trying to lighten some of the dark tones. And then later on, go back again and darken the tones until you will achieve the kind of values and tones that you can see in front. So every now and then, it is advisable for you to stop and view your artwork from a distance. The viewing distance for to judge a painting is 6 feet. So it's nice if you're using a brush with a long handle, because even if you don't stand and view your artwork from a distance, you can still have the opportunity to at least distance yourself. And it's also advantageous to adjust the amount of water that you use on your poster color, because you will be producing a lot of textures if you try to reduce the amount of water. Okay, poster colors dry into a chalky appearance, but you can make a poster color painting vibrant again if you apply your painting with a water-soluble varnish, so that the colors will emerge and the colors will have a more vibrant look. So this is the inherent characteristic of poster colors. They tend to look dry, and some people think that poster colors are only reserved for animators or for cartoonists. But in recent years, after several improvements with many poster color brands, poster colors have their own right to become important part of the collection of art collectors. So the last thing that I'm going to do is further judge the values, adjust the lightness and darkness of my rocks and stones by adding white, and also adding something interesting at the back, just like the flowing water at the back, by adding greenish black to illustrate the flow of water. So this is some sort of an abstract rendition of a flowing water at the back, just to give an idea to the viewer of the location of these stones, that they are found lying in a river bed. So I'm reserving the foreground plane. Okay, this is part of the artistic license. Okay, so after this one, we will be moving on to another lesson, which is focused on painting the whole river scene with all those trees and water and rocks all around, so that we can integrate the principle of this lesson to lesson number 2. Let us now proceed to lesson 2, which is drawing a full river scene using poster color painting techniques. And here we'll be able to apply what we have learned in lesson 1, wherein we painted rocks and stones from the Cabalasan River. We will be working on a full color palette, and you will be able to witness the different techniques that I will show you through this demonstration. Okay, let's proceed. First step is you have to sketch the scene by first establishing your linear perspective lines. Okay, so the river is flowing to my left with an embankment here on my right. Okay, this embankment was created by a strong flood, and there is a driftwood of bamboo stuck in the riverside. So I'm going to include this one. This is some sort of part of the composition, trying to establish our leading lines, our center of interest. Okay, at the distance, there is a clump of grasses. So this will also add another interest to our painting. So you have to be very choosy on what elements to include in your composition. You cannot just include everything that you are looking at. So when painting a scene like this, you have to take time in sketching, take time in trying to edit what you're looking at. And the technique here is not to think of the details, but you have to think of the big shapes in front of you, because if you are going to think of the details immediately, you will be confused on what to capture. So for example, if I'll be very detailed, these are actually a clump or grove of trees. But I treat this grove of trees or clumps as a big mass of objects. Okay, and at the distance, there are also other clumps of trees. So I have to adjust how they are positioned in order for me to create the illusion of distance. So here I tried to lower the hill in front of me so that I can include a part of the sky area. Okay, so that I can include the clouds beyond, because if I won't include this part, I won't be creating an effective illusion of distance. So there are rocks here in the embankment, and if I'm going to judge my values and tones, the darkest area is here, this part. So I'm going to mark this by shading with my pencil. So this is my technique actually, to know how to balance. And then on this part, there are also dark areas here. So don't worry. Anyway, these dark areas will be covered with paint later on when I'll start blocking in my shadows. So there are unnecessary elements that I don't have to include in my painting composition, like extra grasses or extra trees. So as I've said a while ago, you have to think with big shapes. So this painting will be started using a big brush. So perhaps I will add big rocks and stones in the foreground to create the illusion of nearness to the viewer. Though in reality, there are no big rocks near me, but for the artistic license of coming up with something creative and engaging, then you have to adjust your composition and what appeared in the real scene. Okay, the light here in the river is gradually setting. Okay, it's already late in the afternoon when I did this. Okay, I'll start immediately using a big flat brush. Okay, what color will I use? So since I'm doing a landscape painting, I'll start with the basic color, which is yellow. So I'll try to identify all the colors that have yellow. And then after identifying the areas with yellow, I'll be working on my sky. Okay, when we do landscape painting, even using other medium, not necessarily poster color, the most common thing that we do is, for most artists, is to work on the sky area, then gradually move down to the foreground. Okay, and this helps the artist, or this helps the artist establish the mood of the painting. Okay, so after establishing the base color, which is yellow, I'll deal with my sky area. So I'll immediately get to apply the color blue, and I think this is cerulean blue. And I will immediately combine white, and if you noticed, I directly applied the poster color from the jar directly to the background. Okay, you can, what's nice about poster color is you can color your artwork thick. Some artists even add PVA. Do you know what's PVA? PVA is polyvinyl acetate. It's a kind of water-soluble glue. An example of that is Elmer's glue. So you can further make your poster color thick by adding PVA. But for this brand, it's okay because I'm trying to combine thinning of colors by adding water and using thick paint at the same time. So using a cool color like this cerulean blue for the background creates the illusion of distance. Most beginner painters use warm colors for their background But if you'll ask me, how will you create the illusion of distance if you are painting a sunset scene? Okay, for the sunset scene, we can come up with an illusion of distance because the dark silhouette in the foreground will lend to the illusion of distance, even if you're using warm colors for your sky. So we will leave the sky area for a while to allow the paint to dry, and we will now go back to our river, flowing river. So the flowing river is some sort of a brownish, greenish tinge because of the algae. Okay, it has been very sunny for several days here in Baybay, so the water in the river is not very clear. It's not crystal clear. But you have to remember that whatever color appears in the river is the product of the reflection from the sky. So you will wonder why the water in the ocean is blue. It's because of the reflection of the sky from above. Okay, for this case, the river is greenish because aside from the algae, the surrounding area is surrounded by trees and plants. That's why the river has this khaki color. Looks khaki. Okay, I'll work on our foreground driftwood. These are eroded bamboo. So this eroded bamboo driftwood are now found beside the river. Okay, so I'll work now on the embankment. The embankment is brownish gray. So I won't be creating too much texture for the embankment, or else I won't, especially for the embankment at the distance, because I won't be creating the illusion of distance if I'll be using a lot of textures. So I have to create the illusion of soil, okay, for poster color, if you notice, when the color dries, you can actually reuse it by just wetting it with water. Okay, it becomes wet again because, as I've told you in the previous lesson, poster colors have big pigment particles and they are not easily embedded into the paper or absorbed just like most dye colors or transparent watercolors, wherein their particles are very fine. Okay, so paints with very fine pigments or particles are easily absorbed by the paper or canvas or board where they are painted. So I'm going to create the illusion of distance here for the rocks in the foreground. I'm now using brighter and warmer colors for the rocks in the foreground to create the illusion of closeness to the viewer. So if you notice, the background colors tend to be muted and are presented using If you noticed, I used muted colors for the background. And I'm now working on the shadows cast by the objects. Okay, the sun is on my left side. So again, we don't rub the brush on the canvas or paper, but we are pushing the color on top of the paper or canvas with the use of our brush strokes. So I'm now introducing the little islands in the middle of the river. These are actually soil and rocks left during the flood. So I'm trying to place now the embankment on the other side. So I'm adding more white because this side is dry. So usually if the soil is dry, there is a tendency that the color of the soil becomes light. So I'll be using here yellow-green because this area have a combination of growing and dead vegetation. I'll also start introducing the grasses in the foreground to create the illusion. So I'm using the side of my brush, of my flat brush, to create texture. Okay, that's it. And I will also add branches of trees on the other side. So here I tried to move my brush irregularly. So later I will add the details with a smaller brush, but I'm establishing the main trunk here. Okay. So more shadows for the driftwood and the rocks to create the illusion of nearness, closeness. Okay, so I'll be moving on to my background. I'll be mixing green and black. I'll first come up with a darker tone of the shadows of the vegetation. So I'm dealing with bigger shapes. I'm not dealing with smaller shapes yet. So sometimes there is an illusion of distance if you use flat colors rather than highly textured colors. Okay, flat colors tend to create the illusion of distance, just like this one. So I'll try to intensify some portions just to define the silhouette of the trees at the back. Combine them with yellow-green and yellow-green and plain yellow combinations so that we can have the illusion of trees. So it's natural that you will witness this kind of combination in the forest because some parts of the forests are shaded from the sun. So we will leave this area with the light color of yellow and yellow-green later. So this is now our hillside. So below these trees are dark recesses of coconuts here. So there are certain areas that has dark recesses. So we will introduce a very light tint of yellow-green here for our clump of trees. And later I will use my finer brush to illustrate branches. So I'm going to work on the edge of the river. Okay, the edge of the river tend to be dark because the bank is wet. And some parts of the bank is already shaded. Okay, I'll be shifting to my finer brush, a rigger brush, a pointed rigger brush, so that I can illustrate, I can paint the branches of the tree. So I'm combining black and light brown here. So be careful not to over wet your paint. So I'm now introducing the trunks and branches of the trees. So I lighten this with white so that the color of the branches are muted, not really well intensified. But at least it will create the illusion that there are trees there. There are clumps of trees, as well as this one on this part, to create the illusion of distance. And also grasses growing beside the river. Grasses growing here. And also some stones emerging from the river. So I'll now go back to my big brush to adjust the tone of my painting. I'll now add white here to intensify the clouds and perhaps lighten the tones. So I'm now moving forward the final stage of my painting. So sometimes it's good that we add white to the edges of the hill. A little bit of blue for the water. A little bit of brown to illustrate the contour of the riverside. Add more tints of green to make it look even more vibrant, as well as the tree here in the foreground. With a combination of yellow-green. So you don't have to cover everything. The white of your paper, you don't have to cover everything because the white areas may be able to illustrate the illusion of light streaming to the surface of the ground. So I'm going back to my fine brush, combining blue and brown to create the ripples of the river, to create an abstract pattern of water flowing down the river. and further darkening the rocks in the foreground to create the illusion of distance. Okay, these areas are already shaded, that's why they're a little bit dark. So, every now and then you have to view your work, look at your work, whether it's already balanced or not. Just don't overwork in order not to lose the freshness of your painting. And I'm now applying the final color, which is yellow, to brighten this area so that your eye will consider this as the center of interest in this painting. Okay? This painting is now complete. I hope you have learned a lot, and this is Module 6, our last module for this School on the Air program. Please share your drawings and paintings to our FB group by using hashtag SOA Visual Arts. That's all for today. I'm now prepared to answer your questions.
My weary heart soars high like an eagle in the sky when I look into your
All right, so there you have it, guys. No, the module 6. No, actually 2 lessons regarding wet media, and we discussed all about poster paint. And Pearl, how do you feel?
Oh, amazed ko no sa artwork ni Sir Jude.
All right.
As always.
Yes, as always, no, and
Alright.
very inspiring as well.
So naapod tayo mga feedback buwan no coming from our participants ito nang basahon later, but we would like to keep in touch no sa ato participants via our Facebook group by posting some photos and stories related to the SOA no labi ng ilang artworks karon.
All right. And again, no, since this is our last learning session actually for the SOA, so later we'll have Ma'am Dade to give the announcements. But for now, please do send in your questions to Sir Jude, clarifications or any other advice no regarding doing artworks using wet media.
Yes, our lessons for today.
Yes.
Okay, so naata dire buwan no. Okay, so ingon si Ma'am Jennifer, Sir, grabe, idol jud ka nako. Kanina pa jud niya gikuan gi-send. And another message coming from Kiara Lorente. Good afternoon, Sir Jude. Thank you for the advice in painting. I tend to focus more on details than big masses, which confuses me now. I can apply these techniques to improve my painting skills. I have trouble in blending, making tones, and creating illusions. The colors result to be muddy daw. How do you blend? Ay, nasa question. Now, so how do you blend your colors when painting?
All right.
Sir Jude?
Hello for that question. What I can say is when we paint using poster color, the technique in order to avoid muddying our colors is to allow the first layers of colors to dry first before we apply another layer.
So if you are impatient and you are working in a studio and you have an electrical outlet, for the impatient painter, my advice is you buy a hair dryer so that you can dry the layer of paint first, the first layer of paint first before you apply another layer, because applying different layers of colors while the previous layer is wet will cause over blending and will result to muddying of colors. And as you know that, if you have already encountered a lesson on how to use the color wheel, if we'll try to combine different colors, it will result to black. And if you add white, it will result to gray. That's why you will have a muddy mix. And another reason for muddy colors is that you don't change the water in your wash bottle or wash jar. The container where you wash your brush every time you pick a color. And if you notice in my demonstration, every time I pick a new color, I always wash my brush and keep an old rag or tissue paper handy to wipe your brush, so that excess colors, especially if you used a dark color, then you will shift to a lighter color and you're only using one brush, then the result will be a muddy color. So it's just a matter of practice, good studio practice, and presence of mind. And don't be impatient. Painting should be relaxing. It should relax your nerves. And that is the very reason why we have this SOA, to teach you how to relax through art, not making art and then you will be stressed because of your art. So another is try to take painting one step at a time. No? So if you cannot finish your work today, then you have to finish it tomorrow or next week, or some artists even finish their paintings the next month or next year. Myself, I have finished a painting after a year because I'm so busy sometimes and I can't finish one artwork. So I have to leave my canvas or my drawing board in one corner of my studio and let it wait for a while until I have the chance to finish it. But as much as possible, I try my best to paint every day. Okay, thank you for that question.
All right,
All
thank you
right,
so
thank
much,
you, Sir Jude.
And also, just to add, no, to prevent muddying of the color, no, as what Sir Jude also demonstrated, no, naghimo siya og usa ka portion, iyahang gipa-dry usa, and then he proceeded to another
portion.
part of the artwork. So while nag-dry tong usa, so he also worked with other parts of the painting, no.
All right. Thank you. So, salamat no kang Kiara for that question. Another question naman coming from Madeline from Southern Leyte. Good afternoon, Sir Jude, and to the participants. Sir, can we still come up with a great painting if we use the small brush, the one you provided for us? And what would be, what is the brand name of your brush you are using, Sir Jude?
Supposedly, I could have stated that in my demo, that when you buy a poster color set, there is an extra brush provided, but I think it's not suitable for most artists because it's just a bonus for the set. My advice is you really have to buy an artist brush, and if you go to a store, you choose the synthetic brush, synthetic soft brush for acrylic or watercolor. And I think soft brushes are common in most bookstores, even in provincial areas. But much better if you have the chance to go to big cities like Ormoc, Cebu, Tacloban. They're widely available in most bookstores. don't use hard bristle brushes when using poster color because you will be creating a lot of texture. When you say hard bristle brush, those brushes made out of hog's hair or hard camel hair. And if you want to know the brand of my brush, they are actually professional brushes that I bought as a set. They are actually imported brushes made from Spain. But there are local brushes that you can buy like Sakura or Berkeley that are easily available. These are, I'm not promoting these brands on air, but they are the kind of brushes that will be worthy of investing. Berkeley, Sakura, or there's a certain German brand, I forgot the name. The best way to judge a good brush is when you wet the bristle, it forms a shape. It does not spread out, and then there's a certain kind of spring. No, so if you press the bristle on top of your canvas or paper, it springs back. It does not stay in a distorted shape. So that's the sign that the brush is not of good quality. And then if you pull the bristles, the bristles don't come off. So if you buy a brush that the bristles come off once you wet it with water, or it leaves specks of hair in your color palette, that means the brush is not of good quality. So my advice, especially for beginners, is invest on good quality materials. And if you don't have enough budget, you buy the best brush that you can buy. And anyway, practice makes you even more confident to use a brush, even if it's only one. No, single brush painting is not a crime, but once you have developed a collection of brushes, be sure to come up with different sizes to fit the specific needs that the painting requires.
All right, thank you so much for that, Sir Jude. And just also as what Sir Jude mentioned, no, it doesn't need to be expensive, especially for beginners. No, find a brush that will suit your budget and work hard on your technique and your skill. No, after that, musunod na ang if you are already confident with your technique and your art, no, musunod na siyang makapalit ka og mas mahal-mahal nga brush. Kay sometimes we tend to be more like brand specific nga. For beginners, we fall to the trap nga if I can buy this certain kind of brand, it will make my art more kanang nindot. But sometimes it falls sa ato nga we have to practice first and perfect our craft.
Okay, thank you, Sir Jude and Sir Buan. So we have another question here coming from Al Christian from Southern Leyte. I was just wondering if you can use different strokes when using poster color, or can we use only one stroke?
When we try to talk about stroke, do you mean how we move our brush on the surface? Okay, the kind of stroke that you use for your painting will determine the kind of textural effect that you will produce on top of your canvas. If you use dotted strokes, then you will be producing impressionistic-like effect, pointillism, like George Seurat, the famous painter George Seurat, in which he uses dots with his brush to create an optical illusion of different colors. So if you distance yourself from his painting, the colors are quite distinct. So yellow is yellow, green is green. But once you come closer, as close as 1 foot away from the surface of the painting, you can see that the green is actually a combination of yellow and blue dots. The orange is a combination of yellow and red dots. So if you're also using short broken lines, then you will have a style of the artist, of the famous pop artist Keith Haring. No? So he's also producing a very textured effect. But if you use brushes with fine hairs and very careful application of paint, little by little application of paint, and almost no mark made by the brush, So it's the kind of technique that Leonardo da Vinci has used for his Mona Lisa. No? So he adopted chiaroscuro and sgraffito and sfumato, layering of colors, very thin layers of colors. But the Mona Lisa painting was finished for years. No? So because of the careful application of the colors wherein you cannot see where the brush stroke begins or ends. So the brush stroke will really try to determine the kind of energy that you, and because of the stroke, the kind of energy that you place on your painting. So you will say that the artist is very energetic if you can see a lot of brush strokes, or you will say that the artist is careful with his strokes if you cannot even detect the beginning or ending of each brush stroke. Okay?
Wow.
All right, and also no, just also to add, no, it actually depends on you as an artist. It's actually your signature, no. If you want to be more bold, more kanang aggressive in your attack sa imong artwork, or you want to play it subtle, no, murag as what Sir Jude mentioned, na murag dili kang kita sa brushstroke. It actually depends on you, and you have to also define your style. You also need to look for other artists, as what Sir Jude mentioned before, nang to be to emulate or to to pattern yourself, and then find your style na in the future. All right?
So,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you, Sir Bon and Sir Jude. So, ingon si Sir Jasper from Bye Bye. Nice kayo ang topic. I agree, no? So, thank you daw, Sir Jude. And here's another question naman. Coming from Divine Grace from Southern Leyte. Good afternoon, sir. How to avoid patches in poster color painting?
What do you mean by patches?
Patches in poster color painting.
Siguro sa man murag I think naa siguro time nga mag-clump ang mga color
Color niya.
particles or ang color siguro, sir, nga dili siya even ang
Okay.
pag apply sa color.
Okay, the first reason why patches of colors appear on a painting is first, the age of your paint. If you bought an old stock poster paint, sometimes poster paint solidifies. And if you force to use a solidified poster paint and you wet it, you can still use it, but the effect will produce sandy and grainy surfaces because of the clumping of the binder and the pigments. Okay, second, you used less water. That's why I explained in my demonstration that you have to really know the proper consistency of water versus paint, or else you will be producing a lot of texture on top of your paper, because paper is dry, and then you apply your paint, then when the paint touches the surface, it is readily absorbed by the paper and you create a lot of texture. And third, you are applying an overly pure paint, meaning very thick, as if you're applying icing on the cake. But I'm not stopping participants from experimenting in the application of paint. Okay, I even advised you to use Elmer's glue and mix it with your poster color to come up with thick applications. But the disadvantage of using very thick poster colors is that if you are not very good in the color application, in the preparation of the surface, it might crack when it dries, because, as I've said, poster colors are quite chalky, no? So because of the binder, so medyo na tendency nga mangliki ng inyong nasubraan kabagang mga application. And of course, economic wise, gasto kaya na siya. Kung sa cassette ninyo nga poster color, o sara naka-painting inyong mahimo, kung binaga ninyo, sagulan ninyo Elmer's glue. So I think you experiment on little pieces first before you become very aggressive in using very thick poster colors. And lastly, be careful that your poster painting is away from damp, or don't dry your painting under the sun, because quick drying of the poster color can result to the wrinkling, crinkling and wrinkling of your illustration board or paper that you're using, especially if the paper is very thin. Okay, so as what I've said a while ago, that if you're an impatient painter and you would like your painting to dry, the layers to dry immediately, you may use hair dryer, but you have to distance your hair dryer at least 8 to 12 inches away from the surface of the paper, medium heat setting, not the very hot setting, or else your paper will crinkle. Okay, it will cave in, and the paint will crack. No, so be sure to distance your hair dryer. Okay, that's my basic advice for your question.
All right. So,
Okay.
yeah, any other question, Pearl?
Mm-hmm.
That we can
So,
read?
all right, so now I feedback that very well said, Sir Jude. What a wonderful gift you have. You are really appreciated. Thank you so much for sharing your talent. Thank you, Sir Jude, for sharing your expertise. Another question from Sir Exoperio from Southern Leyte. How can we apply illusion distance in our painting? Illusion of
The illusion
distance.
of the illusion of distance through the use of poster paint is to use cooler. When you say cooler colors, if you try to look at a color wheel, uh, the cooler colors belong to the blue side: green, blue, yellow, green, blue, violet. So you use them for the background. And say when we say muted background, we add a little bit of gray. So you mix white and black, and then you mix it with a bright color, and it will kill the brightness of the colors. That's why we call it muted colors, because we introduce gray. So reserve the brighter, darker, purer colors somewhere in the foreground. Kanang part sa imong painting nga gusto nimong mag-appear nga murag duol sa viewer, unya katong cooler o muted colors, imo tong i-reserve dito sa luyo. Okay, I'll give you an example. If you're going to make a painting of a rice field, tapos naipayag diri sa atubangan, naibukid sa luyo, kung imo nang koloran ng imong bukid og brown, unya ang imong atubangan nga payag brown pod, as imong kawayan brown pod, you cannot create an illusion of distance. But if you use cerulean blue or sky blue or blue-green, light blue-green introduced with white, ang imong bukid, and then your clouds and the sky, light blue, and then as it moves forward towards the payag in the foreground, ang imong rice field, green, tapos magtika dark green sa duol, and then the darkest browns and bright oranges are applied to your nipahat and the plants and flowers somewhere closer to the viewer, then you will be creating an illusion of depth. No? So that's what we call as atmospheric or aerial perspective in painting. Because no matter how good you are in using line perspective, like the use of lines nga mura og tikalayo ang linya dito sa unahan, pero kung palpak ang imong paggamit o colors, if you don't know how to layer your colors, the background and the foreground relationship, as well as the midground, then you won't be creating the illusion of distance or depth.
All right. Thank you so much, Sir Jude.
Thank
Okay,
you.
another question, no?
Last question, I guess. Okay. Ang uban kay feedback na ato basahan later. So,
Yeah.
a question coming from Gwen from Southern Leyte. I was wondering what kind of paper would do best with watercolor or poster color, and if there are any cheaper papers that could also be a budget-friendly alternative.
Okay, for watercolor, if you want to produce a professional quality, as I've always emphasized, you will only come up with a good quality painting if you use the right materials. Okay, sometimes we hear teachers say, okay, you use alternative materials, but the alternative material sometimes is not effective in producing the quality artwork. That's why we constantly educate our teachers, even our artists, to only use the quality materials that are really intended for that kind of artwork. Okay, for watercolor, if you use transparent watercolors, I advise you to use watercolor paper with 100% cotton. And it doesn't come cheap, no? But you will see a difference in your painting. You will see that your watercolor paintings are brighter, more vibrant, professional looking if you're using the watercolor paper instead of just using bond paper and cartolina. But poster colors can use papers like cartolina illustration board, or even craft paper. As long as the paper is thick and can hold enough paint, poster color is a very friendly material to use, a painting material that is very friendly. And then another pointer is there are so many brands around, and the best thing is you start buying the less known brands, and then you gradually buy the more professional and trusted brands in the painting. So another thing is don't depend on what you've learned from this workshop. After this workshop or after this SOA, I advise all participants to read books, to watch tutorials in YouTube. Ako lang i-flex, no? I have a YouTube channel, Artist Eye. Pwede mo tanawan ng akong YouTube channel ng Artist Eye sa YouTube, and then nadito yung mga demo nako on how to use acrylic painting. So medyo wakto na ako na continue because I've been busy for the past few months, but I'll try to upload more art videos for participants to have a follow-up tutorial sa ilang mga lessons.
Alright, thank you so much, Sir Jude. Actually, napo yung follow-up question, no? Siguro, wala pa yung nakapangutanan ni, but for, if you have already the finished product, no, your artwork, how do you preserve it? Kaya I think, ang kining poster color, when they dry, they seem to be kanang mas smudge siya, or kanang makuha niyang color, no? If masabod siya, basa, or ma-activate na po siya, so ma-ruin, no? So how do you preserve your artwork?
Okay, watercolors, once masayop gani ka, once you commit mistakes with your watercolor, you have to redo everything. Okay? With poster color, you can redo errors if the layers is not yet very thick. And going back to what Gwen had said a while ago, na kana siyang poster paint, kung na-expose na siya sa moisture, kana bitang ibutang nimo doon og bintana niya, nag-uwan sa gawas, kanang imong poster paint, matingala ka, mo basa na siya because mo absorb dayon ang imong poster paint of moisture because sa iyang binder nga chalk. So once the chalk binder absorbs moisture in the surrounding air, it becomes moist again. So how do you try to preserve your poster color paintings or watercolors? Okay, the best thing is to frame your paintings under glass. And if you have the chance to buy a sprayable varnish, no, a water-soluble sprayable varnish or an aerosol varnish for watercolors, then pwede nimo siyang spray. That will also save you from cockroaches, no, mga ok-ok, busog kay mo kaon og poster paint of watercolors. Paborito gina nila, especially if the paint product is non-toxic. So the best thing to do is frame it under glass, and then once framed, dili siya ninyo i-display sa lugar nga exposed to direct sunlight because watercolor and poster paint are prone to fading through the years. But if well preserved, they can last more than a century. Daghay mga artists, mga Western artists nga nagsugod ang watercolor and poster painting ang ilang mga paintings bisan kapin na usa ka century buhi pa lang gihapon. And then be sure nga ang imong gibitayan sa imong painting nga naka-frame is dili basa ang bongbong, wa nagto. Unya be careful nga dili atakihon og molds. If you notice molds growing in your painting, you have to remove the painting from the frame and clean it, no, with cotton buds, nya ibalik og frame under glass, no, tapuhan. So I advise nga kanang mga i-frame nga mga watercolor painting or poster painting every 5 years, i-check gina siya kung atake ng insekto or molds.
Alright, thank you so for that, Sir Jude, no?
So, I think natubag na no ang pahabol question ni Ma'am Gwen from Southern Leyte. So, redo jud ka kung masayop ko nung ay mong watercolor painting.
Yeah, you have to redo.
Mas okay pa gani ang acrylic, no, kay pwede pa ka maka-paint over, pero ang watercolor once nga imo na siyang nakuha, no, sayop jud kaayo, so redo good. So that's also good, no, because if you are already proficient in watercolor, so mas dili na lisod ang acrylic or uban pa nga mga medium, no.
Yes. So, natay ko ano rin ng mga comment na lang. So, we have here from Southern Leyte. Thank you so much, Sir Jude, for sharing your knowledge and tips to us. You really have cute and very artistic hands po, Sir Jude. God bless po. And another message from Christian. Thank you so much, Sir Jude, for that advice. It really helped me and opened my eyes on how to be a great artist. Thank you, Sir Jude. Very much appreciated.
And from Norlan Consad, no, a million thanks to this local visual artist named Professor Jude Noni Sales, given by God, who served as an inspiration to all individuals who aspire to be like him. You are a local artist, but your artworks shared to us can compete internationally. All right.
Wow.
Hashtag amazing talent.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So, are there any other questions? I think natubag na, no?
Tubag na, no?
Okay, so so that's it, guys, no, for sa ato ang module 6. So we'll be posting actually the resource person evaluation form, the
Post test.
So
Which
yeah,
will be accomplished dapat today. Ang post test.
today, today, no. Okay, just to give us more details, no, and the announcement, can we have Dr. Cristina Gabrilia, our project leader, for further announcements, ma'am?
Thank you so much, Gwen and Perlin. I think we're having an overtime, but okay naman ka. Why ni sunod na program?
Wala.
Okay ra?
Wala pa, ma'am.
Okay, so I'd like to congratulate in advance, no, kay nahuman jud ta. But we would like to announce that 100% submission is needed, no, for you to get a certificate sa graduation. So even if nagpadala ka grad picture, grad photo, still we cannot give you the certificate if you don't submit first. Human naman siguro mo sa pre-test, and then kadtong mga quizzes, and then ang exercises, mga assignments, plus the RP evaluations, and the last is the post-test. So pwede pa tomorrow, but kung mahimo ninyo ang post-test karon, we would like to request nga himo ninyo ang post-test karon. Ano ba ang mga links na send na nato?
I-post pa, ma'am, karon.
Yeah. Actually, ma'am,
So
we already have the link for the RP evaluation, which was given to us, pero ang uban wala pa mi nahatagan sa link. So we'll be posting that one on our
we'll be posting the links
Facebook
today.
Sa Facebook
No,
group na to.
hopefully, yeah. So sige, bisag ugma na lang ang last na to ana nga deadline sa quiz, sa link sa post-test, and the RP evaluation. And we'll be choosing top 10 from each category. So there are now 2 categories, the teachers category and the students category. So we'll be choosing top 10 for each. And then, of course, the top 3 mo'y makadawat og cash award and medals, no? So sorry, we cannot afford that all the top 10 will be given out cash awards. So ang top 3 para maniguro jud mo o nindot sa inyong submissions. And then kindly check na lang, we would like to request the supervisors and the coordinators, no, to please monitor and check if all your SOA participants are able to submit the outputs, no, expected of them. So tomorrow we'll be going to Southern Leyte for the location shoot anang napilian, no. So those nga napilian nga teacher and student, duha kada division, no, we'll have the location shoot for the short film that we'll be producing, and that will be sent to EWC. Okay, so for the virtual graduation, so it will be on August 20, so that will be Friday for all the submissions. So that's why gimerge nato karon, nag-overtime ta aron on Wednesday. You will have more time to do it up until Friday, no, katong mga exercises, paintings, etc. nga i-submit ninyo. Okay, so for the virtual graduation, we'll have the rundown. Of course, there's a prayer, pambansang awit. Then we play the short film that we will be producing with you. And then immediately after that, we'll follow the sustainability plans para sa inyong SDS, no? Para sa inyong division. So this will be presented by your SDS or your superintendent, no? And then after that, there will be messages from EWC and the Hawaii, and then from the VSU president, and then the graduation proper will follow. So mona siya ang graduation proper with the giving of certificates of completion to to everyone. Then after that, the top 10 and the top 3 for the 2 categories, and then there will be messages from the top 1 teacher and the top 1 student. So that's why we will ensure that we will have the results by August 25 para sa 26 mapahibalo na namo nga mauni ang top 1. So the top 1 student and teacher could prepare for their messages. Just a very short message. Maybe it could be a thank you message. No, so for 1 minute each. Lumubo lang. And then giving out of certificates of recognition to the SOA resource persons, no? Ang tulo ka resource persons plus the coordinators of this SOA. No, and the 2 different divisions, and then the recessional music, no, kaya wala naman tayo recessional march, so music na lang with the logos, no, of our respective agencies, no, that are involved in the SOA. Moto siya ang dagan ay pangutana because we cannot have the dry run na, so diretso na ta magkita ay ani sa August 27. That will be Friday at exactly 9 in the morning. So 9 until 12 in the morning, 12 noon. 9 in the morning up until 12 noon. Are there questions from the participants? From the teachers and students? Naay pangutana? Pwede niyo masulat. Or ngutana na lang diretso. Hello? Claro? Well, may pangutana ako ninyo, Buen and Perlin. So that's all. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
Ma'am Darino.
Ma'am
And
Daday.
sa katong mga, if you have questions, you can always also post no sa atong Facebook group. Anyways, what Ma'am Daday discussed today, no, will also be uploading sa atong Facebook group for us to be reminded, no, para dili jud makalimot. All right. Okay, Perlin. So I think mo to siya, guys, no. Again, please do accomplish all your requirements for you to graduate sa ato ang school on the air, and see you on
Yes.
August 27. No? All right. So I think that will be it, guys, no. So please click on click on the links that we posted
Yes.
sa atong sa atong chat room.
All right, I think na question from Southern Leyte, Sir Exuperio.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Ma'am, good afternoon.
Yes po.
Ma'am, ako lang iklaro, ma'am, ang amo bang kuan ba katong ang among attire for kuan culmination of sa graduation. Masagad yung specific amo nga attire diyan. Kaya guban na sila.
Are you talking about your for the Zoom meeting on August 27? Or are you asking about your graduation photo?
Yes, ma'am, ang attire na mo.
Sa unsa?
Ang isuot sa graduation kasi naman ko nag-request nga katong polo shirt daw sa SOA nga pwede ba ko kato isuot or mag-attire mi og katong dahay barong or ini kanang polo shirt with color.
Okay, so dili lang ta di na lang ta magbarong, no, kay mura sa taan nagkuan. No barongs or no Filipiniana, just your casual attire. If you have the SOA polo shirt, then it's okay. If you bought your own SOA polo shirt, then it will be fine.
How about ma'am sa kuan, ma'am? Nami is o nga t-shirt o polo shirt, ang iyang official nga design or color na bata ma'am? Wala.
Wala. Anything as long as naa
Optional
siya
lang siya ma'am.
logo.
Optional.
Basta naa yung logo.
Yes ma'am, thank you.
The color will be determined by you. Kamu may mupili kay kamu may nipalit.
Yes ma'am. Okay.
Sorry, di natakahatag og uniform para sa tanan.
Okay na ma'am, okay na ako rin iklaro kung sa judge.
Okay.
Salamat ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any more questions?
Na question diri ma'am, how about ma'am if nakasend nami nga nakabarong? So I think sa graduation photo ni ma'am.
Daghan na? Ay, nakabarong na siya.
So actually, ang
Pwede
atong flash sa screen karon is katong nakabarong.
Ay,
no?
okay, nakabarong bitaw sila, no? Ano na lang, we encourage na lang, because we will announce we will announce the top three by 26, August 26. So mo na among i-oblige og barong na lang and a white unsa ba or anything, any Filipiniana ana na lang. But we really don't know kung kinsay top 3. We still have to make the ratings. It will be the resource persons who will come up with the 3 resource persons who will come up with the ratings and the top 10. So, pero pwede ra mo magpadala og lain na lang katong kay umta kabalog kinsay top 3 or top 10. Top 3. No, kaya mag message man. So ang top 1 siguro something it could be a Filipiniana or a barong ang top 1. Kay mag-message man siya. No? So since during the graduation, nalibog na ko. During the graduation, the top 1 could wear a barong and should wear a barong or Filipiniana ang top 1. But the rest pwede ra magpadala og kanang polo or casual dress, okay na siya. No, and even during the live graduation, live na virtual. even during the Zoom graduation, you can wear your casual or katong nakapalit og polo shirt nga nagpa-print jud og logo, then you can wear that. Natubag?
Alright. So again, optional na lang no sa tanan. Oo. So kato na lang pahibawon, kato lang ang mga awardees gyud. So sila lang gyud ang dapat magbarong, pero ang uban they can or they may not wear the barong, no? But as long as casual lang siya, no?
Yes, but ang graduation photo, casual or formal.
Yes, okay.
All right, so I think
di naman maklaro na may nitabon.
Okay.
Nagkurap-kurap na siya. But anyway, so wala lang pangutana before we go to ours kita.
So far mauna man po ito, ma'am. Nasayang daw kay gwapa ra ba siya kung makabarong.
Mao ba?
Pwede ra.
Pwede ra. Sagdi na lang tong nakapadala na. Okay ra. No worries.
Okay. So, napay pahabol question. Samtang napa atong project leader.
Wednesday ang deadline. 18 man day, no? Earlier man day ito. Sorry ka, barong ang sample. But anyway, sige lang kaya ang amo pong concern basi dili mo kahula magbarong or ang naay barong, sige na lang magbarong. Ang naay pundo nga barong like mga teachers, no? Barong sa kasal, unsa pa na nga barong, then you can wear that. No problem.
Okay.
All right, so I think that will be it, guys, no? So that wraps up our session for today for our SOA on visual arts. Napay si
Thanks
ma'am.
Gwen.
Okay.
Napay
mga pahabol si ma'am.
Napay pahabol. So, base na sila rin magbarong niya ang atong mga SDS. So, we will just kay base dili niya magbarong ang uban. So, ano na lang siguro paalisdan na lang tong mga barong. Alisdan na lang. Kato na lang yung polo shirt. Dili casual na lang yun. No to barong na lang ta kay kanang unsay nga ni ani. Para may uniform nga na kay naay nagbarong na ay wala. So Alisdan na lang ang photo atong nakabarong. Sorry kaayo ha, mag-retake na lang mo, please. Even ang top one di na lang magbarong. So something casual, something puri polo shirt or ano ana na lang. Nga nindot sad nga polo or kanang polo ba? Polo barong but not barong. Okay ra? Hello?
All right. Okay, so maura ba to nun? Napa ba pahabol question before we end our session for today? Okay. Okay, ang atong next meeting, it would be the graduation na.
Yes. All right. Okay.
Sorry, mo na gini arang bisiha gyud. Okay, we will not require anymore to get your outputs. No? Wani masulti pa ganina buwan. But you have to take a photo with your output. Ang final output kadto siyang poster. So mo padamog picture, butangan nato nag-window sa Google Classroom or together with your photo nga katong inyong submission nga poster painting, nagkapot mo sa inyong kaugalingon nga poster painting. So mo na lang na siya evidence. But for the top 3, since we'll be giving out kanang cash award and medals, we would like the top 3 to submit their output, no, final output to us. No, so it could be through the division na lang among padalaan na diri sa BSU. That should be before graduation, no, aron malili na mo ma-confirm din na mo ang So if you can send it, the final output on the kanang sa top 3 na lang, no, while i-announce man namo pagka 25, so kung mapadala diri on the 26th ang output sa top 3. So we're talking about the top 3 for students and top 3 for the teachers. Kana nga mga outputs, you send them to us, okay? Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Ma'am Daday, and I hope no nga naka-take note atong mga participants. Ingon there is from Southern Leyte, noted po, Ma'am na. Okay, so again, that wraps up our session for today for our SOA in Visual Arts. I am Pridin Fernandez.
And I'm Juan Andrade. See you then, only here at DWDC FM 104.7.
Thank you, aloha, and have a great day.
Bye now.
Bye.